I am Master Chief Sean Snyder, and I have the privilege and honor of being the Master of Ceremony for today's retirement ceremony of Commander Kitja. The military retirement ceremony is a time-honored tradition where we pay tribute to a shipmate and recognize their years of dedicated service to our nation and the freedoms we enjoy from it. It is also an opportunity for shipmates and friends to bid farewell to a fellow sailor. Will the guests please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation. Both stand by the pike's side.
Aye, Master.
Commander, United States Navy, arriving. Commander, Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3, arriving. Parade the colors.
Forward. March. Left. Face. Detail. Hold. Carry. Color. Reset. Arm.
Retire the colors.
Order. Arms. Mark time. March. Right. Pace. Forward. March.
Mr. Russ Kapuscinski will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray together. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, you are the creator of all things, the sustainer of all things, the one who gives life and freedom. You are the one who has fashioned us in your image, and you have made us in such a way that we might flourish. And so we thank you this day that in your Son, Jesus Christ, we are able to experience these very things. We thank you that in your good providence, you have sustained the Horpayak family, Kitja, Horpayak's commander, and throughout his service in the Navy, we thank you that by your hand of strength, you have sustained him personally, and you have enabled him to serve well and to serve faithfully. And we thank you for your involvement in his life and for your sustaining hand of grace. And so as we give thanks and celebrate and honor your servant today, we ask that you would be in our midst by your Spirit. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Thanks, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Before I introduce the presiding officer, I wanted to take a moment to thank Commander Jorge for asking me to be the MC today. I thought, wow, what a super special honor. And then I thought, why? Why me? Why would you do this to me, sir? And so I thought back to our days on Benfold, and I thought, man, I gave you a lot of grief over reading things at award ceremonies and all those. When you'd screw up names, I'd rib you. And you always used to say, after that, you'd say, Sean, I'm going to get even with you. Well played, sir. Well played. You've done it. I do want to thank you for being my friend, my mentor, and my shipmate, sir. And I appreciate that you did me the honor of allowing me to be the MC today. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, today's presiding officer and guest speaker hails from Clinton, Iowa, and is a 1990 graduate of the United States Naval Academy. He has commanded 4 ships and is currently serving as Commander, Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3. Please welcome Captain Keith Knudsen.
Good morning, everybody. There we go. Can you all hear me in the back? Okay, good morning and welcome to all. So nice to see this large of a gathering here to honor the service of a great American. I just flew back from Bahrain last evening, so bear with me as I'm still on Middle Eastern time. And it's about 11 p.m. I think, there now, 11, 12 p.m. But I'm honored that Kitja asked me to speak here at his retirement ceremony, and thankfully none of my usual airline delays were in play, preventing me from getting back here. Most of you probably don't know this, but Kitja and I had long discussions about many topics in my office. I looked upon him more as a peer rather than a chief staff officer. So we had many of these discussions over the past 18 months. One of those was the decision on whether or not to have a retirement ceremony. You remember that, Kitja? I know for most of you in the audience, you would think, well, why not have one? The answer is very complex, as it is personal. Everyone is different. Lately, not having a ceremony seems to be in vogue, and so not that unusual these days. Most of the time, service members just don't want to do one because they want to head off on their new adventure without a lot of fanfare, and I can see that rationale. I think Kitja originally was thinking along those lines as well, until we talked about it. When Kitja first told me he didn't want a ceremony, it surprised me. I know him pretty well, and I know how low-key a guy Kitja is, but I explained to him that the ceremony isn't for you. It's for your family, your loved ones, and your friends. It's a testament to their support, which got you through the tough times and enabled your success. A retirement ceremony is really honoring not only you, but them as well. Kitja thought about that for a while, but soon, and to my pleasant surprise, decided to have one. So Kitja, as always, you made the right call. Speaking of family and friends, we have many special guests here today that I want to acknowledge. Kitja's wife, Erin, daughters, Ashlyn, Allie, and Ainsley are here as well. Kitja's mother-in-law, Glenda, welcome. Kitja's father-in-law, Dale, and his mother, Juan, were not able to be here as they couldn't make the trip from Alabama. but I'm sure they're thinking of you this morning. Kitja's sister Nancy and husband Staff Sergeant, I hope I pronounced this right, is it Oski? Archie? Osi Archie. And are you still taking photos or not? I saw you in the back. But so we got a former Marine here with us today. I understand you also flew in from Seattle, Washington, and I see you brought your weather with you, which is fine. Kind of surprised, coming back from the Middle East to see, in San Diego where it never seems to rain much, and then it's like this, kind of cold and chilly, but it's a nice change. Kitja and Aaron's neighbors and friends are also in attendance. I'd like to recognize them as well. Brigadier General Air Force retired Al Rachel and wife Leona, welcome. I had a chance to chat with you earlier. Jeff and Darlene, and I understand you're also a retired Marine. Jeff, where are you? Didn't make it. They'll be here later. And is Richard from Spaywar here? Okay. All right, well, it's great that you could be here. Another friend, how about your high school buddy, Justin? Where are you, Justin? Oh, okay. Well, I got that right in here. So Justin, another friend, is a buddy of Kitja's from high school, and you guys have known each other for quite some time. You made the trip all the way from Birmingham, Alabama. And Kitja told me an interesting story is that you and he both joined the Auburn NRTC together. But you changed your mind? Was that before or after you joined?
That was before.
Before. Now here he is retired.
I know.
Any regrets?
No.
No. Well, Kitja also told me you were there for his commissioning as an ensign. So this is quite it comes full circle. And the flag in the shadow box, where is the shadow box? Is it up here? You flew that over Auburn University, NRTC? Did you bring that?
Yes.
Go Tigers? Is that your mascot? Of course you would know that. But that's pretty cool. I like that. And also, another special guest of Kitja here is Pastor Russ Kapuzinski, who gave the invocation here. And I had a chance to chat with him earlier. You were the pastor of the Herpetics First Church when they got out here. And, Kitja tells me that you've been a part of his naval career for quite some time. In fact, baptized Ainsley on USS Warrior. That's pretty cool. For those of you who don't know, in the Navy, when you baptize someone on a ship, the baptismal is the ship's bell turned upside down. And that's what the holy water is put into, and then they use that. And then after the ceremony, they engrave the name and the date on the inside of the bell. So I hope they did that on Warrior, because that's something that'll be part of history forever. Because even after the ship's gone, those bells are kept forever. So that's pretty neat. And you also officiated Kitja's change of command for when you went to Crew Constant. That's impressive. So welcome. I'm glad you're able to come here for this. And lastly, but certainly not least, our Master of Ceremonies, Master Chief Sean Snyder. Master Chief Snyder was Kitja's Command Master Chief when he was XO on Benfold. So thank you for doing that for us today. Now let's talk about Kitja. That's what we're all here about, we're here for. He and Aaron have known each other since junior high school. That's impressive. Been married since 1996, 20 years. How many deployments? It's a lot. It's a lot of deployments in that time frame. Kitja was commissioned from Auburn University in 1997 and told me his plan was to do 3 years and then in Kitja's own words, go conquer the sports world, specifically coach college basketball. You can still do that, you know. His first assignment following commissioning was USS Karen, DD 970, where he served in the engineering department for 30 months. And I have a special place in my heart for that because I also started off on in an old Spruance for my first tour as a Divo in engineering. So I know the scar tissue that leaves. Probably is what makes us the way we are today. Grouchy. He also tried very hard to get out of that engineering department job. Having done one, I can understand why, but you know, it's like one of those things, the more you try to get out, the more they pull you back in. Because when you're good, the chief engineer likes to keep those that are competent around him. So you were not successful in sneaking out of that tour. Engineering had you for that whole time. I think that also, that tour was tough, a lot of hours, and I think that exposed you and Aaron to both what the surface community was going to be like for the whole career, or for however how long you all decide to stick it out. That's a rough baptism of fire there right off the bat. But Kitja did say it was a good life lesson for you both. So, one other common thing we have, both serving on Spruance class destroyers, is the fact that there's a common personality that Kitja had to deal with on a daily basis when he was on Karen, and that individual was Captain Neil Parrott, who was the executive officer. I knew Captain Parrott from my time teaching at SWAS before I came to this job, and for those of you who know Neil or don't know him, he's a very intense guy. I guess that's the best way to describe him. And I saw it in firsthand when I was up at SWAS with some of the way that he dealt with some of the prospective commanding officers that weren't really towing the line. So I can only imagine what he was like as an executive officer. But not an easy guy to work for, but definitely a good officer. So interesting. Kitja, you had an interesting first tour, so that's good. Assault Craft Unit 4 was Kitja's second assignment, where he served as the operations officer, or assistant operations officer, and officer in charge. You know, and I'm sure that was a great tour because that was the first time that you could experience being the master of your own world underway. And you know, doing that early in your naval career is a rarity for a lot of officers. Most of the folks don't get the chance to command or actually be in charge of what they're floating on until later in their career, like when they're a commander. But Kitja had that chance when he was there at Assault Craft Unit 4. I'm assuming we're talking LCACs? So, and those of you who don't know what an LCAC is basically it's a hovercraft that ferries Marines and gear to the beach. And they have gas turbine engines, and it'd be pretty cool to drive one of those. Next, Kitja was off to the Capitol to serve in a Washington, D.C. internship program. He was one of 6 surface warfare officers selected, and he told me he didn't think he was going to get the job, and was ready to do a shore tour and then get out. However, things didn't work out that way. He was selected. So here we go. We're starting off on the, obviously he's been noticed, what a good officer he is, and he's he's wanted. So during that tour, Kitja earned his first master's degree at George Washington University and did 2 internships, both at the Office of the Chief of Naval Operations. One was at the Surface Warfare Directorate, and the other one was at the Missile Defense Shop. Both of those are very important to the surface community. Following that, he transferred to the Joint Chiefs of Staff's organization, where he was in the Plans Office at J5. Kitja was the Afghanistan desk officer for 6 months after 9/11. He was instrumental in drafting the initial concept for the Afghanistan National Army and the country reconstruction. So even though Kitja enjoyed working on the J5 staff, he was also working Tuesday through Saturday and at school on Monday. He told me that, Aaron, what did you ask him? Do you remember? Is this shore duty? Because it sure feels like sea duty. Do you remember that? No. Kitja, see, things you say, they obviously made an impression on Kitja, so he was probably sweating that. But following that tour, USS Benfold was Kitja's first department head tour, where he served as the chief engineer. And during that tour, the ship surged with the Abraham Lincoln Battle Group for their deployment. Of note, Benfold was supposed to go to Thailand for Christmas and New Year. On your way back or on your way over? On the way over. And you didn't get to do that. You guys went to Hong Kong instead. Hong Kong's not so bad. But although a disappointment, it turned into a blessing, because that was the year, do you remember when the big tsunami hit Thailand? It was off the coast of Indonesia, and there was quite a bit of destruction. So I don't know where you were going to pull in Thailand, but if it was into Phuket, you would have been high and dry, because you have to anchor out there. I've been on 2 ships that have done that, and that whole basin just emptied out when the tsunami came in. So it was just luck of the draw that you guys weren't anchored there. As a result of that tsunami, Benfold ended up doing humanitarian relief operation Unified Assistance. And the ship also earned 4 consecutive Battle Efficiency Awards, the Bloodhound Award, which is an ASW Proficiency Award, and the Arizona Memorial Trophy. So you can see a very successful ship. And you don't have successful ships without successful people on them. And Kitja was instrumental in that. So he cut his teeth on Benfold as a successful Chang, and that ship doing so well. And his next assignment was at Desron 21. Made another tour, or deployment, with the aircraft carrier USS John C. Stennis. Great tour. And he was just about ready to get a break from sea duty at the end of that, and what happened? Got selected for early command. So, you know, another bonus, because you get to have command of the ship, but also he's not getting a break. So, a lot of consecutive sea tours here. For early command, Kitja was assigned to MCM Crew Constant. That was when we had rotating crews. So the crews were called one thing, and then you would embark on a ship. And specifically, he embarked on Pioneer, Dexterous, and Warrior. And some interesting facts from that time period. Dexterous was Kitja's first deployment in early command. Through his leadership, the ship completed their shipyard maintenance period on time in Bahrain, which is no small feat. And then they went on to operate in the Arabian Gulf over there in the 5th Fleet AOR. Warrior was Kitja's last early command ship. They completed another yard period and followed by workups before his crew deployed. And during his command tour, the ship received the Battle Efficiency Award and the Golden Acre. So that tells me he was doing things right. And so much so that they were winning, the crew wanted to stay. So that Golden Anchor Award is all due to retention and getting those sailors to sign back up and re-enlist. And he did it right there, because obviously they wanted to stay. So as a side note, if you're keeping track, Kitja had been serving at sea continually from 2003 to 2010. That's 7 years. Usually the longest is 3 years that you do sea duty. Compare that with him only having 22 months ashore. You can see how much of a toll that can kind of take on your family and your personal life, and how difficult it is for those who serve. So that was, the Navy definitely got its pound of flesh out of you right off the bat. I believe it was after you had the early command. Is that when you went to First 41?
I have to work on it.
Right after War College. So one of the things that Kitja did for shore duty, the few that he got, was he went to the Surface Navy guru for officers going to ships. And as a Commodore, that was so valuable to me, because Kitja had an insight into all things that the Bureau does. And I've never been a Bureau guy. You have to be asked to do that kind of stuff. There's a select few. Kitja was a member of the club. I was not. They're much more selective than picking me. But it was nice having someone that knew how that stuff worked and having a sounding board in helping us fill some of the gaps on our ships in the squadron. And that was one of the things that, one of the many strengths you brought to the staff that I really appreciated. Kitja's last sea tour was aboard USS Benfold again. So this was the same ship he served as the chief engineer, only this time he was the executive officer. During that tour, he was greatly successful in getting the ship ready for in-serve and its home port shift to Japan. So the ship came out of a very extensive yard period, and immediately they have to get the ship ready for in-serve. That's not easy, and it takes a toll on the crew and on the and on everybody involved. And then add on to that the stresses and the anxiety with doing a home port shift really is a challenge, leadership challenge, and it probably tries you as much as anything. But you know, following that tour, I was lucky enough to get Kitja here on the staff at MCM Round 3, where he essentially ran the entire squadron of 7 ships in 2 different parts of the world, and he did it flawlessly. In fact, I kind of looked at him as, I don't know if there are any Game of Thrones people in here that watch that, but you know, the hand of the king, the king's hand, that's Kitja, because he does it all, and he makes my job a heck of a lot easier. I can't thank you enough for the great work you did here, and I know the staff enjoyed working for you. You will certainly be missed. Again, thank you for asking me to be the guest speaker this morning. This has been a true honor for me. Good luck in your new grand adventure, and enjoy the time with your family, because you certainly earned it, and they're ready for it. So, fair winds and following seas, my friend.
Thank you, Commodore. Commander Horpaic, would you please join Captain Knudsen at center stage for an award presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the awards presentation. Captain Knudsen will now present Commander Horpaic with his end of tour award. Military personnel, attention to award. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal, Gold Star in lieu of second award, to Commander Kitja Horpaic, United States Navy, for service as set forth in the following citation. For outstanding meritorious service while serving as Chief Staff Officer, Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3, from August 2015 to March 2017, Commander Horpaic demonstrated exceptional leadership and strategic vision in guiding MCM Round 3 staff and mentoring the squadron's 8 subordinate command triads. He expertly aligned staff processes and command requirements to ensure effective oversight for all staff administrative matters and managed staff support for manning, training, and material management responsibilities for 7 MCM-1 Avenger-class ships across 3rd and 5th Fleet areas of responsibility. Commander Horpaic's superior performance of duties highlighted the culmination of 20 years of honorable and dedicated service. His exceptional professionalism, personal initiative, and loyal devotion to duty reflected great credit upon himself and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, T.S. Roden, Vice Admiral, Commander, Naval Surface Forces, Pacific Fleet. Please be seated. The Commodore will now present a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States. Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America to Commander Kitja Horpaic. I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps, and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and some success in the future. Barack Obama, Commander-in-Chief. Commander Horpeyx is also receiving similar letters of appreciation from Presidents George Bush, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush. Will the Horpeyx family please join Captain Knudsen? Captain Knudsen will now present a letter of appreciation to Mrs. Erin Horpeyx and daughters Ashlyn, Allison, and Ainsley. Certificate of appreciation from the United States Navy to all who shall see these presents greetings. To Erin, Ashlyn, Allison, and Ainsley Horpeyx. By the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for enduring the frequent and long separation from your husband and father as he served his country. These months and indeed years that he spent away from you constitute a clear and noble demonstration of his love for you and his family. You see, he left you in order to ensure that you inherited a safer world, a surer peace. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your husband and father did. He made our Navy stronger and kept our nation safe. With his service to the Navy now complete, he will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States Navy thanks both you and your husband and father for enduring these separations. Signed, K. Knudsen, Commander, Mine Countermeasure Squadron 3. Commander Horpeyx's mother-in-law, Mrs. Glenda Canada, also receiving a similar certificate of appreciation.
One big group photo. In there.
Like they like each other. One more. All right. Commander Horpeyx, Kitja, the floor is yours.
Commodore, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share this milestone with me. I too am thankful that you were not there. I'll be honest, I remember when we were in your office and you said, Kitja, let's change my return to the 15th. I said, man, he is cutting it close. I might need a backup plan. But nonetheless, I'm glad you made it. And I also want to thank you for your trust, mentorship, and friendship over the last 18 months. I've said to you before that I am absolutely amazed as to how you never treated me like a subordinate. You valued my opinion and asked for it. You made this tour a positive experience and allowed me to prepare for the next adventure in my life, and again, I thank you. Well, folks, my DeVos know that is my opening line for quarters. Good morning, friends, family, and distinguished guests. I've learned long ago that a special day in your life doesn't necessarily mean it's a special day in others. For them, it's just another day. I'm reminded of this as recent as last week when my 7-year-old daughter Ainsley said to me, "Dad, can we move your party?" She was referring to the ceremony as my party, to Saturday or Monday. I simply asked her why. She said, "Well, Friday is Ugly Sweater Day, and I'm gonna miss it." So with that, I would do my very best to keep the remarks short, but the thank yous alone may take some time. As that you bear with me as I acknowledge a few folks. As Commodore said, the retirement ceremony is not about me. It's about my family, friends, and their support, which got me through tough times and enabled my success. I want to point out that everyone who attended my commissioning is here today, with the exception of my mom, father-in-law, and a college buddy. My buddy Justin from high school, junior high really, my college buddy, Dr. Aaron Stavanoa back there, are in attendance, as well as my sister, her husband, Nancy, and Staff Sergeant O.C. Archie, and my mother-in-law, Ms. Glenna Canada. I want to thank Russ and Master Chief Snyder for being part of today's ceremony. As Commodore mentioned, Russ has been part of my Navy journey, and it's fitting that he helps me close it out. As for Sean Snyder, contrary to his belief that I just want to get back at him, truth be told, during my time in Bentville the second time, I was the executive officer, and life can be stressful. And Sean's sense of humor kept me sane during that time. Naturally, he's the right person to serve as the master of ceremony. I always kidded him that I could never get him to do any work. That's a fact. First, for the Navy folks here, well, now that we don't have ratings, I guess, but he's an operations specialist, so I couldn't get him to do any work. And now he's a Master Chief, so double the chances of him working was slim. So I figured, before I retired, I was going to make another attempt. So Sean, thank you for doing this.
My pleasure.
I also want to thank the staff for preparing for this day. An outstanding job setting up today. I know you were voluntold, not necessarily volunteered, to help today, but I want to personally thank you for your time and efforts. Because of you, you helped make today a success, and one that my family and I will cherish for the rest of our lives. I want to extend a debt of gratitude to Master Chief Dana Wynn and his wife Nancy. Nancy's not in attendance today because she drove across country last Sunday, heading back to Virginia. And shortly after the ceremony, Dana's going to get to the airport and fly east so they can meet up again. Master Chief Wynn joined us around August of this year, and I asked him if he would take the lead of my retirement ceremony. While he was no stranger to putting together a retirement ceremony, he went above and beyond for a guy he just met. He personally drafted the invitations, programs, the scheduled events, and the script. If that weren't enough, please take a look at the shadow trunk. I call it a shadow trunk instead of a shadow box. You will hear more about what the shadow trunk is later in the ceremony. That said, Master Chief personally took time out of his evenings, weekends, to help me complete the trunk. And when I say help me, I really mean I stood over his shoulder like any good officer and distracted him in my garage, and he masterfully completed the trunk. While I was distracting him, I got to know him and who he is, and I can say I have a lifelong friend. Thanks, Master Chief. I also want to acknowledge a few shipmates who made the trip from the East Coast. Commander Kevin Ralston and his wife, Kristen. Kevin and I have served for quite some time, and he is definitely someone that, in tough times and good times, he helped me celebrate. Actually, when I found out I was going to early command, we were at Desron 21, got a call from Admiral Quinn, and the first thought to my mind was, man, he's going to ask me about O'Kane fuel tank, and I don't have an answer. Kevin's like, I don't know, dude, but you need to answer the call. So I did, and he was telling me I was going to early command. So Kevin was there for that. Kevin was there for some dark times, and I appreciate your friendship. Ian Thomas. Ian came in from Europe. He tells me he was already coming home, so nonetheless, Ian was my navigator on Bedford, and the second time. And he took the time to come here and help me celebrate this day, so thank you. There are many other shipmates, mentors in the audience. Please don't feel slighted, but I could go on forever talking about and thanking the people who supported me. Captain Brian Shipman, Commander Mark Gillespie, Commander-Select Kristen Laughlin, Christy, Lieutenant Commander retired Austin Johnson. All right, I'll stop, but you can see I can continue on and on. Just know that your support and friendship is the reason for my success over the years, and I am able to achieve this milestone. Wow, today I go ashore for the last time. And I know God has blessed my family and me over the last 20 years. The good times and tough ones. Those of you who know me, I was going to do 3 years. When I say I was going to do 3 years, I had orders in hand to get out. And one thing led to another, and clearly God had another plan in my life, and now I'm retiring with 20 years of service. And I will tell you, every tour, Aaron can attest to this, I always thought it was my last tour. Even when I was at 13 years, 15 years, it was always, this is it, we're done. But yeah, and this journey started in the summer of 1996. I was a midshipman on my summer training in the Sea of Japan. The ship was already underway, so I got heloed out to meet the ship. The ship was USS Fort McHenry. Immediately I was introduced to this thing called watch. For 5 hours, I was on the bridge learning how to drive the ship with my voice, learning standard commands. For my non-Navy friends, imagine standing in your kitchen, staring out the window into the blackness of the night because it's 1 a.m. and you're fighting sleep. That is standing on bridge watch. I recall as a midshipman, I was 21 thinking, what is happening? How is it that I'm in the middle of the ocean being sleep deprived? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, my college buddies were snuggled in their beds. Okay, maybe they weren't in their beds because it's 1 o'clock. They're probably out partying, but they weren't standing to watch. There was also an engineering version of standing to watch. For 5 hours, I was in the engineering plant, and it's hot. Learning what the engineering officer of the watch did, learning what engineers did on the ship. I was spared the illustration of standing watch in an engineering plant. But it didn't take a full hour. As that midshipman in the plant, I knew right then and there, no way I wanted to be a surface warfare officer or an engineer. That clearly didn't work out. My point to all of this is that serving in the Navy or any of the military branches requires discipline, hard work, and sacrifice, to include your family. Not everyone serves. Less than 1% of Americans serve. So for my shipmates who will still be standing the watch as I go ashore, I salute you. For those who don't know, I immigrated here when I was with my family when I was 7 and later became a naturalized citizen. Can you imagine the culture shock going from Bangkok, Thailand, to a small town slightly north of Birmingham, Alabama? We had one blinking light. We might have a stop sign now. But from 7 until I got commissioned, the farthest west I traveled was the town of Tuscaloosa. It's still in Alabama. Farthest east was Atlanta, Georgia. South was Panama City, Florida. And north was Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Because of the opportunities in the Navy, I've traveled this great country of ours from Newport, Rhode Island to Mayport, Florida, Riverton, Washington to San Diego, California. I've sailed the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Mediterranean, I said that, didn't I? Sea of Japan, Gulf of Oman, Gulf of Mexico, and I've seen 70% of the world. I recall when I was a lieutenant stationed at the Pentagon, it was a few months after 9/11, we were there. You never forget. I thought about how being in the Navy, the offices I have had been pretty neat. Warships, the Pentagon. Not only did I get to travel the world, I truly believe I did some meaningful work while I was at the Pentagon and contributed to our nation. But that pales in comparison to my truest passion as a surface warfare officer. One-on-one mentoring and sharing my experience and knowledge with my ensigns and JGs, my JOs. What I cherish the most about time in the Navy is teaching them how to drive ships. Anyone will tell you, the best part of being underway for me is right after a replenishment detail and the ship breaks away at speed of flank and the rudder is placed over hard, left or right. There's just nothing like it. The wind's hitting you in the face and you're trying to maintain your balance because the deck's rolling with the sea. And your house flag and the American flag is whipping in the wind. It's the best feeling and the best part of ship driving. And that I will miss truly. My point here is there are opportunities in the Navy. They present themselves differently for everyone. So for my shipmates, you just started your journey, especially the young ones back there. I'll leave you with this piece of advice. The Navy won't make you rich, but you won't be poor. There are many opportunities that are available to you. You just have to work for it. If you work hard, play hard, do your job, opportunities will present themselves. And for those who are long in the tooth, I'm looking at some of my friends over here. This day too is coming for you. Sail strong and sail safe. Lastly, I want to thank my family. There's a bet within my staff that whether or not there will be tears. Aaron, you have been with me through the journey for the last 20 years. For those of you who didn't know, I've known Aaron since junior high, and you may just heard it when Captain Newsom was talking. She has put up with a lot. I didn't try to count up the number of deployments, birthdays, and anniversaries we were apart. Geo-batch tours that we didn't plan on, the year-long training pipeline that we were separated for, so on and so forth. What I do know is that it takes a special kind of person to make a Navy couple work. I've seen too many of my shipmates having to make a decision between their family or the Navy. I am blessed that I never had to worry about the home front and did selfishly focus on the Navy, my crew, and my ship. I know that was tough, so thank you. Over the last month, my relief came early, so I got a taste of what Aaron had to do at home. Let's just say, I will be looking for a job very soon. Thank you for your support and love. To my two oldest kids, Ashlyn and Allie, I know the moves and separation time have been rough. I know you both Navy'd on when you really didn't want to. I know for the longest time I selfishly focused on the Navy, my crew, and my ship. Therefore, I missed a lot of you growing up. I am thankful and will make the most of the next 2 years before you leave for college, Ashlyn, and Allie, the next 4 years before you leave for college. Ainsley, you clearly did not have it as rough. You didn't have to move a lot. You have a dog. They never did because we moved. Well, I have a dog. Since I'm the only male in the home, naturally the dog was going to be a male, and it's a French bulldog. He's appropriately named McAllen, after my love for single malt scotch. McAllen and I will have lots of time together for the next few months, but back to Ainsley. I have been fortunate to be at home for most of your, if not all of your life. I look forward to the next 11 years before you leave the house and head off to college. I will be very old. Thank you everyone for indulging me and celebrating this day with me. I appreciate you, and with that, I'm ready to go short.
Master Chief Petty Officer Wynn will now present Commander Horpeg with the traditional retirement shadow box. The tradition of presenting a shadow box to a retiring sailor is born of the early British custom. In the days of sail, when Britain ruled the seas, it was considered bad luck for a sailor, upon final departure from a ship, to allow his shadow to hit the pier before he himself departed the ship. In order to ensure no such misfortune would befall their shipmate, the crew would construct a box of the finest timber and place within it all things which reflected his accomplishments. Only then could the man, with the shadow of himself in hand, safely depart the ship and go ashore once and for all. In times past, it might have been a carefully made knotboard or handmade scrimshaw. The items have changed, but the tradition endures. Among the gifts given to a shipmate, a single item usually stands out. This item summarizes and commemorates the individual's career. Historically, it would have been a sea chest, packed with uniforms, tools unique to the individual's trade, and other treasured keepsakes. Over time, this has evolved into the modern shadow box. The shadow box memorializes the rank insignia, medals, awards, and special uniform devices the member has worn. It also chronicles the commands where the member has served. Additionally, the shadow box holds a folded United States national ensign, the symbol of the country and the principles of freedom which the retiree has so honorably upheld and defended over the course of their military career. The ensign in today's shadow box was flown at Auburn University, where Commander Horpeg began his naval career on the 21st of March, 1997. On behalf of your shipmates, including those who have made the supreme sacrifice, we present you this shadow box. With it is the military person's most honored and cherished possession, the flag of the United States of America. This flag, which you have so proudly served and honorably defended, is the true emblem of our unity, power, and purpose as a nation. Accept it, protect it, and be ever mindful that the young men and women you have trained, guided, and inspired during your outstanding career will follow in your footsteps and defend this flag with equal pride. On this occasion, we have lost a true shipmate, but society is gaining a fine citizen. We bid you fair winds and following seas. Bosun, post aside, boys. Lieutenant Walter will now read the watch. All right.
For 20 years, this sailor stood the watch. While we were sleeping, this sailor stood the watch. While we learned our trade, this sailor stood the watch. Before some of you were born, the sailor stood the watch. With storm clouds of war on the horizon, this sailor stood the watch. Leaving his family ashore, he persevered and stood the watch. This sailor stood the watch so that we, our families, and our countrymen could sleep safely. Today we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those who have trained, guided, and that you have led. Shipmate, your watch has been relieved.
Bosun, stand by the call. The time has come for a sailor to retire.
Master Chief.
Commander, United States Navy retired, and family departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Thank you for joining us today. The Hope family cordially invites you to join them for light refreshments and drinks.